Benjamin Sesko then, Dharmesh. How close are United to getting him in?
It's getting closer. It's developing. Talks between Manchester United and RB Leipzig are advancing over the signing of Benjamin Sesko. No full agreement yet. That should be specified at this point. But discussions, we're told, are heading in a positive direction. Personal terms not expected to be an issue for the player. Just a reminder of what United's offer is. It's an initial £65 million plus a further £8.9 million in performance-related add-ons. So it just comes short of £74 million. That's actually less than what Newcastle United's bid was. However, Manchester United is the preferred choice of Benjamin Sesko. Now, I think United have been pretty clever in the way they've approached this one, because they've seen Newcastle United going with one bid, which wasn't good enough for RB Leipzig. Then they've gone again, and they've gone again big. It was like a €90 million all-in bid that they put into RB Leipzig. United just sat back because what they wanted to do was to get an assurance from the player himself that he wanted to come to Manchester United before they made that bid. And that is effectively what has happened, because once we knew Manchester United had put that bid in of nearly £74 million all in, that was the signal that, right, something's gone on behind the scenes, that Benjamin Sesko has made it clear to Manchester United that he wants to go to that club. Because it would be no point Manchester United bidding against Newcastle United if they know the player is going to come. As far as Sesko himself is concerned, him and RB Leipzig have got a fantastic relationship. He doesn't want to rock the boat. He hasn't agitated for a move at all during this whole saga. But he has made it clear to them, Manchester United is my preferred destination, and then he's left it to them. If they can agree that deal with Manchester United, then he can go there. If they can't, then he will sit back and say, well, I'll stay at RB Leipzig, or see if Newcastle United is the destination for me after all.
It's Rob, why would he choose Manchester United over Newcastle United when Newcastle United have got Champions League football?
It doesn't make any sense on paper, does it? But I think what this emphasises is that Manchester United still have a huge pulling power when it comes to transfers. We've seen that already with Matheus Cunha and Bryan Mbeumo, both of whom Newcastle wanted to sign, and they missed out on Manchester United, even though they were prepared to match the deal financially. These players seem to be choosing the Theatre of Dreams at Old Trafford as a chosen destination. Look, I think you have to realise that Manchester United are a legacy club. There are a lot of people in football who don't like to admit it, but they're huge. They have an enormous worldwide following, probably second only to Real Madrid in terms of following worldwide. They have a massive commercial base. They can still afford these deals. They're a huge worldwide brand. And after what Sir Alex Ferguson achieved with Manchester United, everybody knows what they're capable of. They're almost a sleeping giant. And so I think a lot of these players that are at the level we're talking about with Benjamin Sesko here like the idea of trying to go there. From the people I'm speaking to in the transfer market on a daily basis, Ruben Amorim has a huge pull and a huge draw for these players as well. They like the way that he's very straight talking and honest. They like the way that he's improving Manchester United and dragging them up by their shoestrings, if you like, from a very low base. And they like the fact that they think that he makes players better on the coaching field and brings the best out of them. So I think you add all that together, and that's some way to go into to explain why Sesko and others are choosing Manchester United over Newcastle. On paper, it doesn't make any sense because I'm a huge fan of Eddie Howe. I think he's a brilliant tactician. He definitely gets out the best out of his players. He's a brilliant man manager. They've got Champions League football. They finished 5th compared with Manchester United's 15th. In the Premier League last season.
Got sensational midfield, which are going to set you up for goals.
And we know what the fan base is like at Newcastle United as well. They are absolutely emphatic behind their club. It's a one-town club, isn't it? A one-city club. And if you play well for Newcastle United, look at Alan Shearer, an absolute legend of those parts. We'll never have to buy a drink in the town ever again. You know, Benjamin Sesko probably isn't thinking like that, but to turn Newcastle down and put all your eggs in one basket for Man United is surprising, but understandable.
It's an ego thing as well. If you're a player and you've looked at Manchester United since Sir Alex Ferguson left, it's been 12 years where, yes, they've won a few trophies, but they haven't really challenged again for the Premier League title, which is what Manchester United feel they should be doing. They've gone through all of these managers. They've spent hundreds of millions of pounds on players. Now they've come to a point where they finished 15th in the Premier League, their lowest ever finish. If you're a player and people say, well, why are you going to go to Manchester United? Some of them might think, well, I want to be that guy who is going to get them back to where they feel they belong. So it's almost a challenge to players like Brian Mbeumo, who said, I want to go to Manchester United. Matheus Cunha, who had other offers as well, to say, I want to go to Manchester United. Benjamin Sesko, we've been talking about him for 4 or 5 transfer windows, when a number of European football's top clubs have been interested in signing Benjamin Sesko, and clearly it's not a done deal yet, but from what we can gather, he wants to go to Manchester United. So there is clearly what Rob mentioned there, that pull, but there also must be a little bit of ego and arrogance from the players themselves to say, I'm going to be that guy who gets United back up there.
One other brief thing, Mike, is I think you have to realise that the Sesko situation is a little bit unique. I mean, Darmish has pointed out that the relationship he has with RB Leipzig, even though he's only been there a relatively short period of time, he didn't come through their academy or anything. It's very unusual a club would say to the player that they're selling, you choose where you want to go, because Newcastle have bid more than Manchester United here, don't forget. Newcastle could up their bid. They could blow Manchester United out of the water with their bid if they wanted to. If they're going to get 110, 120 million pounds for Alexander Isak potentially, which they know they can get, then they could use all of that to buy Benjamin Sesko if they want. But I think at some point, Newcastle, as a very well-run club, sit back and go, hang on a minute. If we spend if we sell Isak for 120 million pounds and then we spend 100 million pounds on Benjamin Sesko, are we getting a good deal here? Is Alexander Isak worth Benjamin Sesko plus 20 million pounds? No, he's not in the open market. So they're not prepared to go that high. They know what a good value is, which is probably why they've missed out on some deals already this season. We've talked a lot in this window about the players they've gone for and haven't got. But I think actually, whilst Newcastle fans are hurting, they will be reassured in knowing that their club is not overpaying for players. They're not trying to just bring players in for the sake of it. They're looking at market value, they're looking at PSR, and they're saying, this is our plan going forward. The numbers don't work.
But also the relationship that we're mentioning between the two clubs. RB Leipzig will have said to Benjamin Sesko, there will be certain clubs that if they reach a certain limit on our valuation, you will be allowed to go. Now, Manchester United could be classed as one of those clubs, but also, if you're looking at the difference in the offers between Newcastle and Manchester United, it's not that big at the moment.
But it's 5 million. It's 5 million euros. Why wouldn't RB Leipzig say, we get 5 million euros? No. We're still losing the player.
But what I'm saying is if the player has made it clear that he wants to go to Manchester United, and there's only a €5 million difference, it is not going to be in RB Leipzig's in say, no, you're not going because Newcastle United are paying 5 million more, when you're going to get 80 odd million euros anyway. So that's the reason that relationship has been built up between player and the club to the point where he hasn't agitated at all for this. He's letting RB Leipzig and Manchester United do their thing. They've said to him, we're happy if they can agree this deal at the valuation that we want, because as much as we don't want to lose you, we want you to go to where you want to go as well, provided we get our valuation.
He came from Salzburg before, didn't he? So he's in the Red Bull group, so yeah. I understand. All right, so Dharma, so if United do get this done, is that then finished in this transfer window?
Not necessarily. Look, one thing I should say here, we should preface this by saying the focus right now is in Benjamin Sesko. And it is also on player sales. And we've been talking about those player sales throughout this window, those 5 players who Manchester United want out and to try and get some money for. Marcus Rashford has gone, Jadon Sancho, Garnacho, Anthony, Tyrell Malacia.
Can I add Højlund to that list yet?
Potentially, yes, because we've heard that Rasmus Højlund, if offers were to come in for him and they were of a good valuation, Manchester United not necessarily would sell him, but they'd consider them. That is if Sesko was to come in, because Højlund himself is going to have to think about it if Sesko comes in, because clearly his game time is going to be limited. However, they are looking at strengthening other areas of the pitch on Manchester United, not just in the forward areas, because it looks like if Sesko does come, the entire front 3 is going to be different from last season. Sesko, Mbeumo and Cunha. But midfield is also a position that they are looking at. Brighton's Carlos Baleba is one of a number of players that Manchester United have just explored the conditions of a deal for. No official contact between clubs at all at the moment. It's thought it would not be an easy deal to do, particularly if they get the Sesko deal over the line, because of the financial outlay that it would require to not only get Sesko, but Belieber as well, because he wouldn't be cheap.
Yeah, okay. So Manchester United look like they're doing some business, which means a really tough window for Newcastle. And it's now been confirmed Alexander Isak is training away from the first team squad. So how does this one play out? Well, our reporter Keith Downey has the latest.
Tonight's meeting between Eddie Howe and Alexander Isak, for the first time since both men returned from their pre-season training camps, will be crucial to that. Without doubt, Eddie Howe is disappointed with the conduct of his star striker, travelling to Spain on his own individual training camp instead of being with the rest of the squad on their tour of Asia. And the fact that Eddie Howe found that out through the media, I think, is the most galling thing of all. Howe's response was today to tell Isak to turn up to report at 4 o'clock for a meeting and for his own individual training and recuperation, while the rest of the squad throughout the day had their families in for a team bonding session. So it was interesting to see Isak arrive today at 4 o'clock just as the rest of the players were leaving. Isak, the only player uninvited. But where does it leave the Isak situation? Well, we've been telling you all along that Newcastle will not allow him to leave without a replacement.
Benjamin Sesko is continuing to train away from the rest of the RB Leipzig squad as he edges closer to a move to the Premier League, with Manchester United in talks to sign the striker. RB Leipzig have confirmed Benjamin Sesko is training away from his teammates as speculation over his move to Manchester United ramps up. Despite competition from Newcastle, the Red Devils are confident that Sesko favours a move to Old Trafford this summer, and discussions are ongoing with Leipzig to seal a complete club-to-club agreement. Sesko has been training separately from his teammates this week while negotiations over his future progress, and Leipzig confirmed on Wednesday morning that the 22-year-old was again working individually. In a brief statement, Leipzig said Wednesday squad update Andrea Maksimovic is back in Leipzig, but is training individually today. Benjamin Sesko and Lucas Klosterman are also working individually, reports the Manchester Evening News. United moving forward to sign Sesko means Rasmus Højlund faces an uncertain future at Old Trafford. Højlund has insisted he wants to stay and fight for his place, but United are ready to take a loss to sell him this summer. Speaking about his future in the US, Højlund said, "I think my plan is very clear, and that is for me to stay and fight for my spot, whatever happens. I'm still very young. I think people forget that sometimes. I'm only 22. Obviously, not every striker is scoring 100 goals at the age of 22 like Erling Haaland. But I've learned a lot, I think you can see in my game. I'm starting to develop and become even better in the basics. Now it's just about for me to sharpen myself, and I've done very well in the pre-season so far. Just focusing on continuing that. Competition is fine with me. It sharpens me. I'm more than ready. I'm feeling sharp, so I'm welcoming everything that comes. I think it's good with competition, and it only sharpens the team." United have splashed out a combined £127.5 million on Matheus Cunha and Brian Mbeumo this summer, and sealing a deal for Sesko would push their spending towards the £200 million mark.
É gripe. Bem na gripe. É verdade.